This is our new podcast. We've done podcasts before, but we've never done like a full one. This isn't going to be coffee and content. This will be something else.
Yeah.
But
I think it's shit about changing coffee and content as well. I don't like the name. No.
To what?
I don't know.
Because there's no coffee
And there's no
content.
There's no passion in it.
Yeah.
And I think the whole point of what I wanted to get across with that is showing people passionate about their businesses and going out to their businesses and stuff. And I was like, coffee on it's like coffee with comedians in the car or something like that, whatever it is. So we'll revisit that one.
Okay, so this is more just, we've done these Instagram clips for a while, and a few business owners have actually mentioned, like, where's like the full thing? We've never put one out, so thought, why not? Just give it a go. Let's do 10 and see what happens, you know what I mean? I think the focus on episode 1 is, should you start an agency in 2025? And all topics under that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, for those who don't know, I'm Reese. I own Half a Passion, and that's Ben.
I own the other half passion.
so we think.
Yeah.
And we started this agency in 2018.
Yeah. For 7 years now, was then.
And yeah, it's just been building since then. Bit of a slow start. We didn't really take it serious the first year or two, I'd say. We did, but I mean, like, we didn't have
Just didn't know what it was going to be, did we? Like,
yeah.
Just literally, it's been like finding as you go. So
yeah, and then it probably got to 2022, maybe. Would you say 20?
Well, after 2021, we built the first office, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
In above the garage. Because obviously lockdown happened, and we were like, "Oh shit!" We had like one semi-consistent bit of work coming in, didn't we?
Yeah.
Third party, and then obviously that dried up, and it was the best thing anyway because it was fucking shit show. But after that, we were like, right, let's do something. We rebranded in lockdown as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So this brand logo and stuff you can see now. And then I think from there, we were like, right, we probably potentially got something a bit serious. So let's give it a go. But I still don't think at that point we knew what it was going to be.
Yeah.
We weren't doing any web or anything at that point, were we? So
I think, yeah, it was... At what point for you did you feel like it was starting to become like a business? For some reason, I kind of felt like when we were in... I feel like when we moved here, I felt like it was a business.
yeah,
A lot more than I did. Not even because of the space or whatever. I think just because we started to formalise things a little bit and put things in place.
I think for me, like, obviously, we always have that running thing, but we're just kids with cameras because that's what we were, like, running around like headless chickens. And if you remember that when after like post lockdown, the government did that scheme for like getting people back to work, didn't they? And I think I think, being in all honesty, I think they give you $1,000 like to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got given £1,000, and I was like, we could use that to buy something with or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think that we were a bit hesitant about taking someone on, but I was like, look, it's funded for 6 months, and then, you know, you've got to find like their wage or whatever. And obviously that's when we took the infamous Matthew on, who I need to go climbing with actually at some point this week. But he, obviously bringing him in, it started to feel a little bit more formal then, because obviously we had to do an interview. I'd never done like an interview like that before and stuff, but even that just felt like we were just another pair of hands just to be assistants to people. You know what I mean? But then moving in here, the next step and like bringing Ian on, I think that was probably a big point of having someone older and experienced sort of going, this is serious now what you've got.
Who's Ian, for context?
Oh, so Ian's our consultant, and it's pretty much changed the game for us. And I'll advocate for any business that needs some sort of consultancy now or something like that.
It was interesting because obviously, just touching on this, this fucking pillow was getting megged, by the way. We got to a point where I feel like we were just on like this hamster wheel of making content, we were so cheap and really good, I'd like to say. So everyone was just like, oh, like, can we get in touch? Can we get in touch? And I went for a coffee with Ian, and he started asking me questions about about passion and stuff like that, but the finances and all the rest of it. And I was just like, I don't know, And to the point, like, I remember the last thing he said, like, he was like, I've just asked you all these questions, and the answers would tell me if I was reading them on a piece of paper that it's not your business.
Mm.
And then he laughed, started smiling. I was like, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, everyone goes through it, but you need to know. And that was like a big, like, oh, fucking hell. I remember telling you, didn't I, being like, that was like 40 minutes of just pure, like, getting pulled apart sort of thing. But it has kind of helped us loads because we've been working with them since.
Well, he's obviously solicited, isn't he? So, like, having someone be objected to, but also keep you on your toes, I think, cuts through your own bullshit as well sometimes, doesn't it? But having someone like him who's older and more experienced come in and sort of give you credibility and validation towards what you're doing, I think gives you that bit of a kick up the arse. And I think from the minute he come in, I know personally myself, I was like, right, I've actually got, like, because I used to just feel a bit not lost in what I was doing, but like, what are we aiming towards? Like, what, I don't know. We're just filming the next job and scrambling through and doing all that. But then I was like, right, we've actually got the bones of like a little bit of a structure now. Do you know what I mean? So then you just start seeing it like grow, then, don't you?
Okay, so I don't want to go through like the whole journey because we've done a podcast on that.
Yeah.
So when people, if someone was to say to, which is actually, it's interesting because I wrote this question down. Someone asked me this the other day. Basically, when you hear people say they want to start an agency, what do you think?
It's like great. Why not? Like, everyone, like, that's perfect. But I don't think people realize like how hard it is.
Yeah.
And I don't even like using the term agency. Like,
I don't like the word agency.
Yeah. Because I think we're much more than that. I think an agency is not, it's cold. Do you know what I mean? In my opinion, like that term. And I don't think we are cold with any of the clients that we work with. I think I like to use the same growth partner. But I think that's kind of probably a little bit more true to what we've done, because obviously if you look at the people that we started with and then just managed to become a full service, like, full party thing for them, we've been partners along the way. Do you know what I mean? They've helped us out and we've helped them out. And it just so happens that we've put the processes and things in place, but of agencies, and then just adapted it, and that should give us more strength, if anything.
Yeah. So obviously, like, earlier on, before we were like an agency, we were just more videographers. We were charging like £200 a job, sort of thing. Has there been a point in time where you've thought, right, this is either gonna, and it could be like now, it could, but like, have you had that thought of like, right, this is either gonna like blow us up or break us, as in like the company, in terms of like workload or anything like that?
I think there was a big shift probably coming around about a year ago. I was adding members to the team. It did become like, it went from being an agent, it went from being just videographers to being this fully fledged thing, which was new to us as well.
Yeah.
And obviously that fills you with anxiety a little bit, because you're just like, you like to know everything. I'm still like that now a little bit, where I'm like, I don't understand something, so I don't really want to like talk about it or whatever. But I think we've been quite lucky with it. We're not greedy people, so we could have just went, oh well, fuck it, like, let's just get what we can, and get out as quick as we can. Probably if we done certain things, we could probably be doing more now, but we would be, I don't know, like, what's the word? Like, useless, and we wouldn't have a clue what was going on internally and stuff. But I feel like what we're doing now is like strengthening it all. So it doesn't fill me with dread anymore now. I quite like it, and it should just help us propel forward. I haven't asked you that question though. So like, what was there a point for you? Because we probably differed on that a little bit. I think there was a conversation we had probably 6 months ago, maybe something like that, where I thought at one point like maybe we weren't aligned on things, because I thought maybe you wanted to go more down the production company route.
Yeah.
And I was like, sound. I was like, but everything we've done the past couple of months, seems to be going the other way.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we're in the middle there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think like maybe at that point, my kind of thing is where probably I'm a little bit more reluctant than you are in that aspect of like you just said, I don't like to be able to offer something that I don't know
Yeah.
about. You know what I mean? So like when we obviously took Rob on, who's an expert in his field, I've still got to pitch the work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was always that thing of like, okay, but what happened? Like, what if sort of thing? And obviously, you can just say that about everything all the time, and you would never get anywhere. It's all about obviously taking that risk. I think from my perspective, I think sometimes you just go through those teething issues of like, I was like, no, I feel like we need another video person to help us kind of flesh out showcase passion better, which I think was the right thought in a way, but probably the way we went about it.
Execution.
Yeah. Because obviously that has then led us on to taking a digital designer on now. But and then it's weird because hindsight, like it's great. Do you know what I mean? To go like, oh yeah, we needed one of those here. Why didn't we do this ages ago? But like, I remember having that thought process, and I think we'd had like videographer, digital designer, social media exec, or social media something or other, and like, I don't think any of them are the wrong answer. I think it's just like, what level do you know what I mean? What needs to come? And I think probably we could have potentially done digital designer that time, or even probably 2 or 3 hires earlier. But you just obviously work with what you've got, haven't you? And you just kind of
learn, don't you? I think from like obviously they were going into like the paid stuff, like the media and all that kind of thing. I think was like probably my biggest fear was like us doing this work for everyone and it going really well organically, that kind of thing. But then someone else just creeping in, going, which has happened, and you've gone like, we can do that, you know, but we can also get it in front of like more people and generate you more leads.
Yeah,
and because we've never really spoken like that. We've never really spoken like we can get you, like we can make you more money. We can do that, because that's not really our, like it is to some degree, but like we don't make those types of promises, like, because we let the work speak for itself, and obviously they've got to do a certain level of work themselves as a business owner. But that would be my fear of like someone coming in and going like using our work and what we've done and built, and then going just because they've said it differently. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was always like, you've got to grow. Like my always thing is that you've got to grow with the times a little bit, but not too quick to the point where you drown. Like,
yeah, no, fair enough. Okay, so this next section is like what nobody tells you about like agency life, and again, I'm going to change that word to agency, just running a company.
Yeah.
So the point, like the things it says, it's more of like an open topic than a question. But managing people when you're still learning yourself, how have you kind of managed to navigate that?
It's hard. It's the hardest part, I think. No,
it's fun. I like in my gym, the sauna, or in our gym, I should say, the sauna is like, it's the same. It's business owners at the time that I go in, and they've always had like the hardest part managing people. And it sounds like I've never understood that. Do you know what I mean? And it's not like, it sounds quite bad when you say it like that, as in like, oh, they're all headaches. It's not. It's just when you do anything with multiple people at scale, it's just harder.
Yeah. But like, I think being a manager is, you've got to switch your mindset to thinking like this is something that has to be learned a bit.
Yeah.
Like that skill of managing people. And I do think I'm a bit like, everything does seem to happen for a reason. I go on about this girl all the time. I think her name's Heather Elkington. She's like, she basically puts content online about how to be a manager. She worked in like Harrods or something, and then moved on to something else, and it just come up. Like literally, when we must have had a similar conversation like this, and a piece of content just come up, and I was like, what the hell? Like, it was something about having difficult conversations with your staff, and I was like, that's exactly what we need to do. I think it might have been when Matthew was here or something, I can't remember, but I just started following that, and I was like, she's like teaching, like, and she advocates like saying you have to learn how to do this, and that's what she's doing. But I'd never had that mindset before. I always just thought a manager was like someone that, oh, you're just born that way, but you're not. That there's a difference between being a good manager and a bossy person. Do you know what I mean?
I think as well, like, we probably had the luxury of like dealing with business owners and dealing with how they are with their staff.
Yeah.
And
Not always a luxury, that, though.
no,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, you get, like, you'll watch and be like, I've seen how they've navigated that situation. I won't do that. I've seen how they've navigated, oh, that's interesting how they've done that. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think, like, no one seems to get it right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's probably, like, a better way of doing it than, like, because obviously every person's different. So
It's funny, innit? Because, like, when you said then, like, we've had the luxury, who you're referring to, like, clients that we know.
yeah,
I was referring to family, you know. So, like, when sometimes now, like, the family will go, I had to do this in work today, or this happened in work today, and I go, wow, like, sound, I wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? No, like, didn't turn into work. Oh, really? Like, that just wouldn't happen. But having that, you have to just remove yourself from it and go, that's their business and how they deal with it. And
yeah, no, it is. And I think as well, like, it's someone like Ian where he helps you think, oh, it's never as bad as it is, or it's never as good as it is. He, like, makes you, like, reining it in.
Yeah.
And obviously that's with managing people, but with, like, managing the business and everything as a whole. Obviously, touching on the clients, then this topic, as obviously we could probably go on about for days, but boundaries with clients. Why is that important, and how have you been able to build that up?
Boundaries with clients in terms of, like,
just setting your own boundaries with clients.
You set a boundary with anyone, like, in life, it's to get the best out of it. Like, whether it's partners, family, clients, a boundary's there to set the bar. Do you know what I mean? Of what can be tolerated and what can't be. And I think people who are people who are offended by boundaries is an issue in themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, in any kinds of situation, a boundary with the clients is, like, not what's happened. You know what I mean? Because, like, that's my personal. I've had to have this conversation with people in the past, like, and it's my own fault because I've started WhatsApping them. Then to come across from that is quite hard. Like, sorry, to come away from that is quite hard. But explaining to them, look, if I can't think about this outside of working hours now, because unless it's deadly serious or whatever, then yeah, we have to as the business owners, that's fine. But little things, like, I can't have that creep into my own personal life now. If it doesn't and it comes back to me in the right way in the morning, you can have that time dedicated to it.
Yeah.
And it gets the best out of it, do you know what I mean? But in terms of, like, you know, boundaries as well, in terms of, like, the scope of work and stuff like that, you know, that's something that we've struggled with quite a bit in the past, and that we built the business being approachable people and going the extra mile and all that kind of stuff. But there comes a time where you have to be so selective with that and just be wary of the favours that you're doing for people. Not because, like, doing favours is a bad thing, but it's not always a good thing. And
it sets the bar, like you said.
It sets the bar, but also it devalues what your team. It's not just, if it was us, we could do favours all day if we wanted to, because we could work till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night like we used to. But you can't do that for your team now, because it's devaluing the work that they're doing.
Yeah, I think there's obviously loads of reasons, but I think, like, one is, like, you know, if a client gets 10 videos, let's say, they're 10 boss videos, I understand as a business owner, most business owners, obviously everyone's different, but a lot of business owners, they share similar traits, and one of them is trying to squeeze the most out of their, you know, if they use a service provider or whatever it is, and I get that. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone we work with has an element of that in them, which is fine. That's how businesses.
We'd be the same.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You go anywhere, you go to the gym, you want the most out of it when you're there, don't you? Like, I'm paying for this. But
yeah. But I think, like you said, it devalues the work when you go, oh, well, I know I want, because if you do 20 videos once, then they expect 20 videos every, oh, but you've done it last time, and it's like, well, no, because we've got kind of a standard to uphold. And what I found is when I've said that to clients, and I've been like, I understand what you're saying, but, and again, maybe it's like a learning curve for myself of being like, I understand what you're saying, but we've got to, like, realign the bar now, because we've got a standard to uphold across the board.
Yeah.
If I do all of this for you, next person's going to expect it, the next person's going to expect it, and then before you know it, we won't have a business. And it sounds brutal, but, like, none of those clients are going to go, oh, do you know what, we'll just bankroll you then until you're back up on your feet. Like, and it's not how it works.
No.
It's just like, oh, well, we get on to the next team then.
Yeah.
You've got to like be cruel to be kind in a certain way, because obviously you want to grow the team and ultimately you want to provide better services.
Yeah. Those windows are open.
So yeah, I think
that Chris Dow, is it the future?
Yeah.
like he talks about it quite a bit in terms of like the value. Do a scenario where like he says like, right, I'm going to charge 10 grand for a logo, and someone's like 10 grand, like, well, when will I get that done? He goes, well, like I can. He says like, the way he says it is like, the time value is like 10 grand, something like that. And then he goes, well, I can do it quicker. Or he goes, well, if it's quicker, shouldn't it be less money? And he's like, why? Because I'm better.
Yeah.
Like, why should I do that? Do you know what I mean? Why should it come down? He says, so by that scenario, if it takes me a week longer, I'm going to charge it another 10 grand. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing on money.
It's that thing as well, like with like, it's, again, kind of managing expectation and stuff. But sometimes, I know we've had it in the past where we're not the cheapest that you can work with if you just want exclusive video. There's well cheaper options available, but I believe that our quality is better than the rest. That's just what I believe. Might be right, might be wrong. But I think when clients go, yeah, that's expensive, sometimes you want to be like, well, we can work on a percentage basis then. Like, whatever this video brings you in, I get a percentage of it.
Yeah.
So I know we'll be better off that way. But it'll get to a point where you'll go, no, I'm losing too much money this way. I'd rather just pay you the one-off fee.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But again, it's just kind of...
Which is a model for like a lot of agencies, like, like big London agencies and stuff will go, right, well, rather than paying this for your ads or whatever, we'll take a percentage of revenue at the end.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think that is... You're better investing in it, like,
Yeah. What would you say the most underrated skill in running a business like this is?
Underrated skill?
Organisation. I'd say composure. I don't think either is right or wrong, like, are they? But I think being able to, like...
composure is a big one. Like, just, like, not being so reactive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I just think, like, regardless of, like, in any day, if someone puts $100 grand contract in front of you, not being like, fucking hell, just being composed and being like, right, well, what is it that, right, let's work this out. If someone's, slating you, giving you feedback, okay, I hear you, like, okay, let's go into that. Like, whatever it is, just being composed with it. I think that is probably the biggest underrated skill. Because I think if you don't have that skill, or you're not working on that skill, when you are in the firing line of it, good or bad, you get overwhelmed and you don't take in the information. Do you know what I mean? And obviously this is why I like the likes of fucking ChatGPT and recording things and whatever is always helpful, so you can go back and digest and stuff like that. But I think when you start getting to those higher higher pay grades and stuff like that, I think having composure is like a really, really underrated skill, I'd say.
Yeah, I think like definitely for that. I think I'm definitely much better now with me. I'm not as reactive to things. Obviously, everyone has a bad day. I haven't been in the gym for like 3 days or something like that. Like, when you starts getting a little bit like thingy up there or whatever. But I think I can be quite. Sometimes like the team will say like, this has happened. Like, this is messed up. Oh, sound. We'll pick it up tomorrow. Sleep on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's still a problem in the morning, we can just deal with it then. 9 times out of 10 after the sleep, it's not. So I mean,
I know everything.
Yeah, pretty much. But I think for me, organisation, and I think like you said it the other week actually, and in hindsight's a proper like a bastard but a great thing as well. Imagine being as organised now as we are, even though we're not there yet, with Trello back in 2020.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
It's mad.
That is like, if I could give anyone some advice in a business, right, is get something like a CRM, either for an internal or if it's client facing, whatever, but get all over that as early as possible, because that will just fucking propel you so far forward.
It's mad because you, like, to give context there, like, we was running our business off a whiteboard, which is in that studio.
I'll never get rid of that whiteboard.
Yeah. And basically we moved next door to Graphit, and we get on quite well with the owners and stuff like that. And he was like, oh, we use Trello. And I was like, oh, yeah, I've seen it's like a to-do list. And he was like, well, no, it's a lot more than a to-do list. You can do all sorts with it. And then, like, we spent like a week getting everything, all our client stuff, over to Trello, setting up boards and stuff. But it's really difficult when it's live and in motion because you're making a decision and then you've got to go back on that decision in 6 months' time because everything will get refined and then it gets confusing for the clients. But so me and Ben were talking, we were saying, like, if you could go back to lockdown and like change one thing or whatever, like what would it be? And I was like, I wish I would have just got all over Trello. And it'd still look completely different, obviously, because you'd be refining stuff and that, but just being all over it because it's like, it is like splitting your brain in half trying to get.
It's hard. I remember at one point when we first got it and paid for it, it was just one list on one board and we just wrote every task in for everything. So basically just taking the whiteboard and putting it on there. But obviously you just keep refining it as you go and it changes. And even yesterday the boards were changing and stuff, weren't they? But I was talking to Joe from House of Simple the other week, and he was like, when he had lockdown, obviously he'd already had his business for a while, like a couple of years, but he was like, I just used that time to do me SOPs, like all my procedures, everything, just wrote every single thing down so that when people joined afterwards, they go, that's how it's done. How much time does that save? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's another big one, to be able to do that, because when we had our first hire, he would literally, obviously, because how else are they going to learn? Okay, this, how'd you do that? So I'd stop, like, this is it. And just having the brain, like, space to think, because obviously a lot of the stuff you don't think about, like, if you were to go into your house now, you don't think about how you open your door and you just do it. Whereas people will go, right, well, what key is it, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like having that fucking brain space. So that would be
out of body perspective kind of thing.
Yeah.
But even, like, I'm always thinking all the time, is Trello right? Is that the right thing to do? Like, and I listened to a podcast the other week, I think I sent it to you, and the lad was like, oh, we used to use Trello, but it was limited for everything, so we moved over. And I was like, fuck, are we losing, like, fighting a losing battle here? But then I thought, no, like, because it doesn't matter. Like, if you're all over Trello and you've got it to the best, like, and then you do have to change in 2-3 years, it doesn't matter because it's all there.
Yeah.
Like, you're just moving it over and then it just, like, gets enhanced if you had to, but I don't think you have to. I think it's just how you use it, isn't it? So
how you hold your face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So what's the best part of the job that no one talks about?
I think the variation. A lot of people can see that as it.
I was going to say the money.
The money.
That's not the fucking money. Yeah, taking
that. I think, people think that's a stressful thing, having to, like, flit and change between different projects, but I think that's probably my favourite bit, that no 2 days are the same. And as well, I was thinking about this last night, like, one thing I'm finding now, like, a big part of my enjoyment of the job is learning how to do things internally as well.
Yeah.
Like, learning how to, like, build, like, the marketing strategies and putting schedules together and how Trello's work. And it's like one big jigsaw, because we're into jigsaws at the minute, but, like, it's like learning different ways, and, like, I think that's kind of better than doing the actual delivery of the work sometimes.
Yeah, I think do you know what my kind of best part is, like, this is more of a video side of it. I've always kind of enjoyed when I can make, I know it sounds proper, like, fucking over the top and cliche, but when you can make someone watch a video and, like, actually feel something, whether that's happy or, like, fucking hell or whatever. Like, I've always got, like, my enjoyment out of that. And I think because we work with clients so long now, the likes of Tom and stuff like that, they're having these, like, oh my God moments, because we're showing them footage from, Tom's about to open his gym in the Baltic, and we showed them footage from 5 years ago, where he was like, one day I'll open one of the best gyms that the city's ever seen. And to be able to, like, provide that to people just because we've had a bit of like, you know what I mean? We forward thought and being like, right, we know in a few years, like, this might not be relevant now. It might not even make a video right now, but in a few years it'll be relevant. Like, that stuff, I get a lot of enjoyment out of.
Yeah.
That's like pre-planning and organising, really, innit?
Yeah. I think my biggest thing with that is, like, I never remember what people have said. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I'm quite good at that, to be fair.
Yeah, I would never remember what Tom said fucking 3 years ago in the shoot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I think
but even that, though, there could be a way to to make sure there is a way to remember. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A debrief for something like that, so you can type in, it's there or whatever. But
Yeah, something like that would be fucking game changing. Get it on the list.
yeah,
So to kind of recap and bring everything together, if someone was 20 to 25 years old and they were thinking of starting marketing company or whatever, you would tell them from what we've gathered, yeah, go for it. Work on your CRMs first and foremost.
yeah, I think so.
Because I literally had the situation the other day. One of the lads in footy, shout out to Jay, was like, he's only a young lad, and he wants to get into this sort of industry. He's in uni, he's doing placements and stuff, and he was like, I want to do something similar. He was like, I've just got loads of questions I want to ask, and like we just won the league, so
Yeah,
like wasn't the right time to get into it and stuff like that. But I was just like, kind of got me thinking, and I was like, if you started again now, I was like, yeah, like I know like fucking every podcast, every subject matter fucking leads back to AI these days, but like with the power of being able to like do things so much quicker than that, like I think it'd be like I would say work on your CRMs, get out there and just meet as many different people
yeah,
as you can. I think that's probably where this year we probably need to turn our focus on, is getting out and about a little bit more. Because it is just too easy to just go home.
yeah, and probably like just sit in the office all day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to be going out and meeting clients out and about and all that kind of stuff. But that's the next thing on the agenda, I think. But I think learn whatever you can, watch and read as much as you can in your spare time from different business owners, not even just agency owners, business owners. They've all got like stuff to offer. Do you know what I mean? So.